Hello there and welcome. We are back with Around the Grid, third season, Alpine, Schumacher and Sargeant. We've already got a taste of the crashes last time around, with Schumacher basically crashing out of what would probably have been a 1-2 finish. Sargeant, on the other hand, did pick up a win here, and he's just 23 points behind Sainz. So far, it looks like things are going to get fairly interesting. In comparison, Schumacher only has 29 points. So we'll have to see what we can do here. But first things first, we are going to go ahead here and try and fix the car that was brokey. And we do also need to manufacture some new parts here. We'll have to see exactly how bad this crash actually turns out. But I think we'll be fine. The issue here is, of course, going to be then that Schumacher most likely will just have to live with some older spec parts. There's just no way around that. When you break your car, you'll have to live with what we have to offer. And right now, that's not a lot. Let's just put it like that. He also did destroy his powertrain, including the engine, the ERS, the gearbox. Basically, everything has been destroyed. Now, to be fair, it would have been replaced fairly soon anyway, so it's not really a huge deal. But it's still a problem. And even while we do have an extra engine as part of our regulations, it still sucks, let's be honest. But I think we can deal with it. In terms of Sargent's car, it's just the side pods. His powertrain looks like this in comparison. As you can see, it did actually completely waste an ERS. The gearbox, again, would have been replaced fairly soon, same with the engine, so it's not really a huge loss. But as you can imagine, it's also not a good thing. So we will deal with things as best as we can. Also, Schumacher here's mentality has taken a hit, and that is probably due to the fact that he now has a car that is worse than his teammates. But that is kind of what you have to live with when you create problems. I'm also tempted to actually extend these guys' contracts, but as I said, for Sargeant and Schumacher, we were considering letting them go around the halfway point of the season. I'm probably going to go ahead and extend Gannon's contract, extend Pecker's contract, and also I would think Sender, if he doesn't retire, he's 60 years old, as well as Murphy's contract. Give them 2-3 more years here at Alpine. 2-3 more years of pain. But with that said, everything is looking very, very good here. In terms of research, we are not getting anything done until after Miami, with the front wing and the side pods coming in just after. So, well, let's face it, it's just the front wing. The chassis, this C5 here, we are going to most likely produce. But we are going to need another additional side pods. We're going to need another additional suspension before I feel like the gain is high enough for us to take full advantage. But yeah, I'm going to try manufacturing the parts here. If we look at car 1 here, we still have a pretty huge advantage. We're lacking top speed, we're lacking DRS effectiveness, but as we get a little bit more CFD time used on the car itself, this should kind of sort itself out. We are going to focus 100% on the car for this season because I think we need it with Schumacher and the Sargeant. But for now, let's go to Miami. Let's see if we can maybe close down that gap to Red Bull a little bit. Or we could always crash out again. Let's see what Miami has to offer. I swear to every unholy entity out there that the Alpine save is just cursed. Any save that includes Alpine is just a cursed experience because we have another design center fire. We already had one this year. Now we have our second one in April, 2 days after I last left you. So basically what this means is that we are not getting our parts anytime soon. 24 days now is the ETA. And if we check the calendar, that means that the parts that we were supposed to get around here are now moved to after Imola. I might just barely get that front wing in time for Monaco. That's how bad things are. So, to be fair, the front wing is the only thing I'm really worried about. Getting that new chassis before Canada would be amazing, but again, we're going to have to rush it, so only one car is going to have it. But yeah, we are not having a good start to this year in terms of our technological prowess. Let's just put it like that. Make matters worse here, Schumacher's just performed something amazing. He's gotten eliminated in sprint quali. Sargeant puts it basically third place here, and in comparison, Schumacher on 2 runs, both of them uncontested and unmolested, is over a second and a half slower than his teammate. Yeah, we have upgraded Schumacher's car. This is not me forgetting to put the new components on. That's the worst part. If it was me forgetting to put the new components on, I could, I could explain it away, this performance. But look at that. New engine, new ARS, new gearbox, and he is so far behind his teammate. It's not even funny. So yeah, morale OP, I guess. But this is going to suck. Honestly, it's just a sprint though. Hopefully we can perform a little bit better in the race. Let's see what starting position we get Sargeant in. Sargeant does a slightly better job than his teammate here. Ends up in 6th position, and unfortunately for us, did not perform as well on the soft as we had hoped here. 28.2 is basically had a better time on the medium than he did on the soft tire, which is unfortunate, but sometimes it is the way the cookie crumbles. The Red Bull dominating here, both of them. Bottas placed himself ahead, but honestly, it's not too shabby here. I think we can have Sargeant probably contend for a podium, and with Schumacher, the goal is just going to be to get in the points. He's starting 21st, and to make matters worse, on Sunday, we're getting heavy rain, which our car is really not suited for, unless we're running, in the first. But yeah, for the strategy here for Miami, I'm a little bit undecided, but I think we are going to do a very classic run light. But as you can see, it doesn't really matter how we do it. It's going to basically be the same. But I think we're just going to run a light medium here. It does seem to be the best option. We're going to lose a little bit early race, but with the RS later on, better tires, we should be able to get close enough to just overtake. I don't think I've actually mentioned this specifically in a video before. But the reason why lights are incredibly strong is because the further you get into the stint, you're going to start catching up to cars ahead of you. That is one part of it. But you're going to be so much quicker in the corners that you'll usually be very close for DRS. And as a result, you have an easy DRS overtake because of the fact that you've saved your tires, which kind of sounds weird, but it is kind of how this strategy works, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what we're going to do here. We are going to go ahead and put that to light. We're going to use, again, 0.4 kilograms of fuel in the push at the start. But yeah, let's see what we can do here. Schumacher starting 21st, Sargeant starting 6th. Remember, there's just 2 points of overall between these two drivers, and one is a lot slower than the other one at the moment.
It's time for the sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Lights out, away we go. We actually have Piastri here for company, which is a bit surprising, but that is a pretty poor start from us. But considering that I'm seeing a lot of soft tires, this could turn into a very interesting race, all things considered. Sargeant here is getting overtaken by Yamamoto, which is absolutely fine. Yamamoto is probably the highest rated, or at least one of the highest rated drivers in the grid right now, alongside Verstappen and Rivas. I'm not too worried about that. But we might actually be able to pull something off a little bit better than I anticipated, because of the fact there's so many soft tires. They're already burning them. As you can see, we've done basically half the lap, and they've already burned 3 to 4%. With 20 laps to go, that's going to hurt them in the long term. But yeah, let's see what we can do here. We're going to speed things up. We're going to allow Sargeant and Schumacher to kind of try and make something happen. You can already see that we just flew up to the back of Bottas there. But it's a long sprint. Let's see if we can move up. Curious what's happening, because we got bullied. Let's put it like that. We lost 3 seconds in this corner. Oh yeah, we got pushed on the... we get pushed off the track straight up. Nothing too serious, but it is frustrating. Russell had a bit of a moment here. He hit the wall. He could keep on driving, but he did go into pits and retire. And for Sargeant here, we are now halfway through the sprint. Things are looking decent. We're just 6 seconds off the lead. They've used, again, twice as much of their time that we have, which gives us a huge advantage. For Schumacher now, it's going to be time to start moving forwards. He's just 10 seconds off points. It's not terribly far behind, but we're going to start using energy to give both Schumacher and also Sargeant a little bit of a push here. We do need to close down the gap to Bottas. We do need to get that overtake sorted and then catch up to the top 4 Red Bull powertrain, if you will. But yeah, for Schumacher here, I'll have to see what I do. I think we're going to use a little bit of energy too to close the gap ahead. and then try and get some overtaking done, because we are currently getting a little bit too much fighting for our liking here, and that's not necessarily a good thing. We need to clear Norris, clear Piastri, and catch up to the cars ahead. Let's see here what we can do now for Sargeant, and he is kind of just blowing through the field at the moment. Peak confidence, as you can see here, getting very, very high on those pace stats. So when he's peak confidence, peak mentality, he can make things happen here. And I think for now, we're just going to put him back to neutral. We're going to save a little bit of that energy. And even then, I think he is going to reel in both Gasly, Tsunoda, and the two real, quote-unquote, Red Bulls. Kind of the same enough for Schumacher. He has caught up to Stroll. He should be able to get him with DRS. Probably not in this corner, but the next. And then we can start reeling and trying to get up into the point. So there's a little bit of micromanagement ahead. Let's see if I can pull this off. With just 1/3 of laps here remaining and us having 40% of our tires basically left to use, I decided to go a little bit more aggressive on, well, the usage, if you will. We are going to just sit behind though for a couple of laps here, try and stay with the Red Bulls as best as we can while we recharge, and then we're going to try and get the overtake done. Sargeant has caught up to them, as you can see. And in terms of tires, they're all down to 40%-ish. Verstappen has actually destroyed his tires far more than the RB duo. So honestly, we could be lucky here and have a podium consisting of us and the Cash App AlphaTauri guys, if you want to put it like that. Now, Schumi here is doing his absolute darndest, and I think we need a replay here, because I think he just pulled off a double overtake on a Ferrari and on Danny Rick, and I want to have another view of this. I'm actually getting from driver cam, so we're going 3 wide. 3 wide into this corner. I'm just happy he kept it on track. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not kidding. I'm just happy he kept it on track. Now, again, DRS training here is a little bit of a problem, as you can imagine, and that is probably going to keep Schumacher here out of the points. But he is making improvements. He's back up to 14th, so it's not all terrible. I'm trying to do some copium here. He's just 4 seconds off points. So, as you can imagine, the DRS train is holding him back. You probably need to go a little bit more harvesting here. Unless we can get close enough down the straight. We can be the second car in this DRS train and then break free. Then maybe we can make a miracle happen. A couple of miraculous double overtakes would be key. But it looks like we don't have any choice other than to just harvest a little bit. Stroll has done what Stroll does and crashed. Although I guess he did get squeezed. He basically just brushed the wall there with the front wing. It happens. Schumacher gets himself a little bit of an overtake here, which is great. DRS should keep him safe, even while recharging. And it does. For Sargeant, this is kind of when we need to start acting. 3 laps to go. We have 4 cars to clear in a DRS train. That is going to be a bit of a challenge, even with superior tires. I did not expect the Cash App shield to be deployed, to put it like that. I think we're getting one of them here. And we are. And then maybe we'll get one on the following straight, and then we can go for a little bit of recharging. Did not work that way, unfortunately. For Schumi here, we're going to put him to neutral. We need him to clear Rivas. We need him then to clear Hamilton. Like that. Oh, this is 3 cars inside of each other. Just one lockup. Oh, never mind. I need to slow this down. Is he gonna full send it? That was beautiful. Similarly to what Schumi did earlier. That was beautiful.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Yes, good stuff indeed. Let's see if we can get another angle on that one.
Now this is Logan Sargeant. It's there for the taking, and up the order they move.
Do we think if Sargeant had gone full send there, Verstappen style, he might have gone to Sainz as well? Or is that just me being a little bit optimistic? There's the tires here, 30% for both Red Bulls. The RBs are actually looking really, really good at the moment. We are on the final lap here. We have been re-overtaken. How do we want to play this? Because there's 2 DRS zones remaining. Do I full send on the next one? Or do we play a little bit safer? For Schumacher here, we're kind of not getting points most likely, so I'm just going to leave it to him. But for Sargeant here, I think it doesn't really matter. Because if we get the overtake done here, we're going to have to deploy anyways. And hope that we can create enough of a gap that we don't get re-overtaken down the straight. And we already got 1.5 seconds there in just that short while. Can Tsunoda do the impossible here? He can! Tsunoda, my hero. Okay, so Sargeant wins, Tsunoda snatches second. Tries to get third, Gasly fourth. The sister team beats the main team. Lovely to see. We'll take that. Let's see if we can keep this up in the race itself. The qualifying for the race itself went somewhat okay. Sargeant ended fourth. We aren't too far off signs here, honestly. Schumacher down in 9th, and once again, just not keeping up with his teammate at all. And that's a bit of a problem because, as mentioned earlier, we're getting heavy rain for this race itself. And that's going to be very interesting. So, apparently we're already starting with moderate rain and a wet track. That is going to make things even spicier. And by the looks of it, it's going to remain wet for basically the entire race here. It's expected to go Inters at the end. Okay. That's what the prediction states. Honestly here, I think going just full attack, full send, as long as we don't destroy the tires, might be the play here. Just do something like this. And if we do destroy tires, turn it down to aggressive. For Schumacher too, try and get overtakes done early. Take care of the tires when we're not. And I'm gonna keep this interstint in here. But I don't know if we're going to actually take advantage of that. Because this is a roller coaster of a race. This could be... Well, this is going to be wets, basically, after this one. But there could be like a 10 lap... Well, not even that. A 6 lap gap here where Inters are best. And same over here. But it looks like we're just going to go full wets the entire time. And I'm wondering if doing a 2-stopper with full wets is actually... going to be beneficial. That's the best way I can put it. Would it be better to just do this? Where we kind of just stick with 2 sets of tires. It's supposedly going to be a lot quicker, so yeah. Instead of doing a 2-stopper, we might just do this instead. We'll have to see though, it'll determine lap times. I feel like the wets and the Inters aren't correctly represented in terms of the lap times they actually do, particularly fresh versus used. So we'll take a look at that. We might go for the... You know, the 2-stopper here, we'll have to see. Depends. It's going to depend heavily on what the AI does. If the AI pits for fresh wets, we might do the same. If they don't, we might stay out long. Because as I mentioned, we have terrible dirty air. And that is generally something that you will be seeing in wet races more so than anything else. Having an effect. We're going to also go ahead and under fuel, of course. It is a wet race. We're going to be able to recover a lot more fuel than we would usually do. So we're going to go full attack. We're going to push probably for the first 5 laps or so. Should still be okay. And then run conserve for the rest of the race. I think that will be okay. We need a brilliant start from Sargeant. We need a brilliant start from Schumacher. And honestly, that's all we can pray for. And then we'll just have to handle the tire management from there. We are right here. We need a brilliant off-the-line start. So I'm going to go ahead here and pause just to put them to high overtake aggression. We're going to change angles and we're going to focus on Sargeant, who seems to have a pretty poor start compared to his rivals here. And Service says yes, that's a pretty poor start. Schumacher, also with a bit of a poor start here, in danger of getting overtaken by the Haas. not even in danger, just straight up getting overtaken by the House of Ocon. He's not out of it yet, but it's not looking good. And yeah, that is Schumacher down a place. Excuse me, immediately. Can Sargeant get a little bit of a run here on the ball? Get a little bit of a place immediately, and it looks like that's actually viable. The track is getting slowly drier.
I think it's a bit early for it as well.
If Sargeant can get another car here, that would be huge, because that would mean peak confidence. We would be able to kind of make moves while we are still running somewhat cool tires. Probably not going to be cool for long. Not gonna lie. And in terms of when these tires start to melt, it's at 95 degrees. So yeah, I think we're going to take a risk here. We're going to keep on pushing. Kind of similar to the AI. Try and get an overtake done. I don't think Schumi is getting it done. I'm not going to lie. I don't see Schumi getting this move made anytime soon. And for Sargeant now, he is running into these tires are going to melt mode. So let's just tune him down. It's going to suck. Honestly, it's going to suck quite a bit. But I have no choice here. We need to do this in order to keep these tires alive. Because if we don't, it's gonna basically suck later on. So try and manage the tires a little bit. See if we can avoid getting re-overtaken. We are falling backwards here in the standings, if you will. That's just how things are. Tire temperature is too high for us to really do anything. So I'll try and manage. We'll see what the weather has to offer. We'll see if we pit lap 20 or if we pit closer to 30 and do a one stop. It'll have to depend on how things go. But Sargeant up into the podium position here is actually pretty good. For Sargeant here, we actually managed to pull off a pretty good overtake, similar to what we've been doing in the sprint. And that's going to be huge. Unfortunately, the timing of this overtake is not the best, as we're going into damp territory. And we are now melting these tires. We tried to make something happen with Schumacher 2, didn't really work out. And for Sargeant now, I need to get the temperature down and try and manage these tires a little bit. Fastest lap has been set with that overtake on Yamamoto. And now we do have a little bit of fresh air here to hunt down the cars ahead. We also do need to manage fuel, because as it is right now, it's not looking amazing. So let's see if we can keep things going a little bit longer here. I've decided that we're going to do a two-stopper here, and the reason for that is very, very simple. For Schumacher, it's because he's falling backwards pretty aggressively here. He's not having a good time. And as such, I want him to pit before anyone else does. Put him on a new set of wet tires. We do hopefully want to get ahead of Stroll before we do pit though, but it's going to be difficult because we are kind of running inside Ocon. Get a couple overtakes here done would be huge. And for Sargeant, we're actually going to do the same. You can see that we had a pretty hefty drop here. That's not really because we pushed the tires. It's because of the fact that we had this drier patch, and we have another one upcoming. And I'm kind of tempted here to go inters for this drier patch, purely because of the fact that we lost so much tire. Can we make up 20 seconds? What is it, 23 seconds here? 21. If we can make up 21 seconds, that's going to be questionable in the interstint itself. But what I think we can do, which is going to be the important part here, what I think we can do over the course of these 5, 6, 7 laps that we're going to get with inters, is probably save enough wet tire that this second stint is going to be far more impactful. We might just go from here to the end on a wet stint. But as you can see, we are getting some hints that there is potentially going to be inters, like Schumacher's strategy suggested. So I'm a little bit unsure here. It's kind of a hard decision to make. Again, this is from 18 to 24. It's 6 laps. Need to make 4 seconds a lap out to make this worth it. But again, I think the difference in tire, hopefully, because again, we are gonna just have these tires absolutely melt in most circumstances. I think it's gonna be worth it. We'll try though. We're just gonna keep on pushing, try and keep that gap a little bit bigger for Sargeant. Currently, if he pits, it comes out around Schumacher. We'd like to have him come out ahead of Rick if possible. That would be peak. So we have a couple more laps to get this done. We are going to use deploy on the in lab. We're probably going to push fuel as well. But right now, we are just waiting for this wet track to go below 4 millimeters. And that shouldn't take too long. I think we let Sargeant complete one more lap here, both to get a little bit of a bigger gap to the cars behind, hopefully. It is going to suck, though. Like, no matter what I do here, the options are going to suck. Do I deploy energy now to...
Like a couple laps or sooner than that?
Do I deploy energy now to try and get that gap bigger? I think. And we do gamble on the inter tire. We do gamble. We might actually end up doing a 3-stopper here. And for Mick now, we're just going to put him to neutral. We're going to do the exact same thing with him. We are gambling here. None of the pre-made strategies suggested doing this, which probably means it's not going to be amazing. But we're going to have light rain, moderate rain, and then heavy rain in 10 minutes. So, yeah, about 6 laps to make a difference here. As we now have a safety car. Okay, that changes things. That safety car basically means that we're doing 2, 3, 4 laps behind it probably, which means we are not getting advantage of any inters. We're going to pit for new wets. No way around it, and then we're just going to have to conserve once we get out of the pits. What exactly has happened here? We have Norris, who has crashed.
Safety car.
Lost the rear, hit the wall. Not too bad though. So he should. Well, his car isn't going to be fine, but he's going to be fine. Sargeant also has some nice gaps here. Should come out where he is. For Schumacher here, it's going to be a little bit of a closer fight. Let's be honest. But we do now have signs in the pits. Everyone is pitting, kind of like we expected. Clean stop there for the Red Bull. Are we going to have a clean stop here? Yep, we are going to retain position. Bottas actually stays out like the madman he is. Schumacher is now in the pits. Let's see here if we can have a clean stop for him as well. Clean stop, but it's getting held up massively by other cars. Look at that. That's frustrating as shit. Russell did not pit, Hulkenberg did not pit, and Bottas did not pit. So, in theory, we haven't actually lost any positions. Tsunoda going on the Inter here is going to be very interesting to take a look at. Not gonna lie. And I'm just gonna help my cons here a little bit. Now, we are down to 292. I don't know if it's gonna go even further down. It is. And it's gonna do that for a few more laps here. So, for Tsunoda here, he needs that safety car to come in yesterday. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Even on conserved behind a safety car, we are cooking these wet tires. But honestly, we don't really have a choice here. Like, there's no way around it. We don't have a choice in what we do.
Cover that.
Because this safety car, like, in 4 minutes now, when the safety car ends, probably, it's going to start pouring down again. Tsunoda is basically out of this race to some degree. Bottas, Albon, kind of the same, honestly. They're going to have a bit of a tire advantage, but they're going to be all the way at the back. Same with Russell, Hulkenberg.
Safety car is in this lap.
So yeah, safety car is coming in now when it starts pouring. So honestly, if Norris had crashed a lap later, we might have been in trouble. But because it crashed when it crashed, we are actually okay. Sargeant, I need you to deploy here. I need Schumacher to deploy. We need to just get by Bottas, because Bottas is going to act as a pretty significant, not only heat source, but he's just going to be an insane blocker, if you will. Be brave on the brakes, man. Good work. Now, we're going to run conserve on these tires a little bit longer. Because, well, I need to get that temperature down. Like, everyone has lost about 20% of their tires under safety car conditions. So, That is not great. But we do have Bottas, we do have Albon, we do have Sonoda. Albon now pits. We do have Sonoda and Bottas kind of holding up the pack here. And that's going to be huge for Sargeant because we're going to get basically some freebies in terms of gaps. For Schumacher, we're going to have to try and, you know, make something happen here. It's going to be difficult. But it looks promising. He's not going to end up on the podium, but he should be getting points here. Now, because of the safety car and the fact that we lost a lot of time, we now do know for a fact that we're definitely getting an Inter finish. And that means we now need to keep these tires alive until lap 50. That's going to be a bit of a challenge because we already lost some of it. So what we're going to do is tune it down to aggressive, maybe even to standard if we need to. But aggressive should be enough to keep us going. The problem is that we're having a potential another Inter period right here that is going to burn those tires even more. So as it turns out, the guys that stayed out during the safety car, the guys back here from Albon all the way down to Alonso, might have had a brilliant idea. The problem with that, though, is that they are basically a pit stop behind the leaders anyways. So I don't know if they'll be able to take advantage. But it could turn out that this would have been a masterstroke to do, because that basically means they can stay out until the Inters come. They basically save themselves a pit stop. But I don't know how well this is going to work in the grand scheme of things. So we'll have to just wait and see. We are, as I mentioned, going to have to try and stretch these tires to lap 50, which is going to be hard. I think we need to run aggressive. It's either that or we commit already to a second pit stop, which, again, it's going to be difficult because we suck at overtaking. We have a tire advantage right now. If we can keep that going, we'll be okay. So we'll take a look at what the AI does, maybe try and mirror them a little bit. For now, though, it's just manage tires until lap 50 gets here. We're now in that second interpatch, and this is where things are getting interesting here. So we're going to get moderate rain. We need to survive 6 minutes of this. So because we've saved so much fuel, I'm going to head and put the fuel to push, around the engine mode to push, and attempt to make up for some of the pace that we are losing here from managing the wets right now. And honestly, everyone is kind of in the same situation. We do need to try and just manage the best we can. And that is what we're doing. But even then, I am kind of seeing it that we are going to get in trouble. And with Sargeant in particular, I'm kind of tempted here to just go full send. Hit him for another wet. But again, the problem is, will he make up those places if I do? Probably not, because we suck at overtaking in the rain. So we're just going to have to try and manage, try and survive the last 15 laps here before we get to Inter territory again. It is moving forwards. It's probably going to be lap 50, 45 right now. So we should be fine. No point in pitting then, as it is moving closer and closer. Shumi has also made up to 6th place, which is pretty good. But yeah, the temperatures here are doing a number on the car. We need to, again, just manage. Let's do our best. Schumacher's probably going to lose a place here to Gasly, but that's just how things are going to have to be. Now, interestingly enough, Verstappen has actually jumped into the pits here and also had a pit issue. Is he going for another wet set? He is, actually. Another set of wet tires. And he isn't the only one. We've had Gasly, we've had Ocon, we've had Leclerc. And all of them, I believe, are going for new wet tires. And that's an interesting choice. Again, because we are getting closer to the end of this race. It should be Inter from lap 45, as I mentioned here. This should be an Inter dip in 11 minutes. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Are they going to be able to make up that... make up the time lost there in the next 10 or so laps? I don't know. But I think we're going to gamble on staying out and just managing. Yamamoto and Rick also pit now. That's very interesting, because that kind of puts Sargeant in a position where he can pit. I think we gamble on staying out, though. I think we gamble on just mirroring whatever Sainz does. Shumi here is going to be playing a very important role of trying to block both Rick and Yamamoto. And he is getting up into a podium position with this. So, while we are probably going to get overtaken by those on fresh, wet tires, I don't think this necessarily is a bad position to be in. It's gonna wholly depend on if we actually get inters to the end here. But if we do, the AI might have just shot itself in the leg. The other question, of course, is going to be what kind of lap times are they doing compared to us? That's, of course, what's going to have a huge effect. We're doing 48 9s, 49 3s. Tsunoda and Yamamoto are going to be way quicker than that, of course. But the question here is going to be how much quicker. And we can, of course, go a little bit more aggressive now that we have pulled down our tires. So Sainz does pit now. Jimmy does at 50. What does Tsunoda and Yamamoto do? They're about 8/10 quicker. That's not a lot. Particularly if you consider they're on fresh tires. Sainz also did dip into the pits. And he put on another set of wets. I kind of wanted to gamble here. I kind of want to stay out. I really, really do. Because I think they might have shot themselves in the leg. But that's going to be a hard thing to know, though. So, Shumi is going to get overtaken by Tsunoda and Yamamoto. No way around it. We'll have to see if Albon and Verstappen catches him. But right now, we're going to wait 5 more laps. And we'll see if, maybe, just maybe, we have a masterpiece here coming for Shumi. So here we are, 15 laps to go. And the track is drying up by the minute here, as you can see. We're down to 450 right now. 445, 440. It's going pretty quickly, and within a lap, I think we are going to be pitting. Shumi is also keeping the cars behind at bay, which is actually kind of insane. And what I think we do is we're just going to go inters. We're going to go inters. It is the best option right now. And Tsunoda is doing what we're doing. Albon is doing what we're doing. So, I don't know. We could, of course, get burnt here with the wet here at the end. But let's face it, the wet tires are going to get burned anyways during this inter period. So I don't think this necessarily is a bad strategy. I think it is going to most likely work out in our favor. And Sargeant already has 12 seconds on Sainz. So if we make up 12 seconds during inter period, that should be okay. And we are already down to 350. This is going to last for 10 laps. Oh yeah, I think we are making the correct choice. Clean stop from Sargeant, which is what we'd like to see. Going to come out in 4th. For Schumacher, it's going to come down probably a little bit further down the order. See here, clean stop there too. Going to have to make some overtakes, of course, but that shouldn't be a concern. Unfortunately for Sargeant, he didn't come out in the absolute best position he could have. If he'd come out ahead of Tsunoda, that would have been amazing. So I really, really need to clear these guys as quickly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and deploy. And yeah, Tsunoda is going to need some new tires as well. And I'm wondering, Sainz at 92% right now. What's it going to look like once we actually get through this drier patch? Sargeant is just about to make the overtake here at lap 47. And we still have 5 or so laps with better temperatures for us. And in terms of the difference now in lap pace, we're 2.5 seconds quicker. Which isn't a lot, mind you. But it's more than enough here to make a difference. And that lap right there, almost 4 seconds. Again, 5 laps, 4 seconds. It's a pit stop. And not to mention that Sainz right now should be cooking his tires. We're down to 220 in terms of millimeters. We even have fastest lap here set by Schumacher. He is going to have a little bit of work cut out from here to catch Verstappen, to catch Yamamoto. But it's going to be very, very interesting here to see what's going to happen here at the end. We still have about 8 minutes left of this, so again, 4 or 5 laps. And then we are going to have to, you know, suffer that pit stop most likely, or gamble on staying out on the inters. We'll have to see what's best. It's going to be hard to say really right now. But for Sargeant here, it's going to be key that we get another 15 seconds or so before that very, very heavy rain comes in. We're getting close to trouble here. 4 minutes now until we get pouring rain. Sargeant is probably going to make more than a pit stop up though before we get there, because as you can see, he is doing lap times that are almost 6 seconds a lap quicker than his rivals here. And with 3 minutes, basically 2 more laps of this, I think we'll be happily ahead. Now, for Schumacher, he is currently just barely ahead of Tsunoda here. Probably going to get Gasly, maybe even Verstappen, before we get to the rain again. So for him, he could potentially also be a potential problem for the rivals here of our AI. Probably not going to be on the podium, but getting a 4th place finish here would be very much acceptable and something that we would take with gratitude, honestly. Water is going up right now, 2.36. I want to stay on these inters as long as I can. Right now, it should start shooting up again. I think we can do one more lap here for Schumacher, one more lap here for Sargeant, and then we'll take a look at just how much time we've gained compared to our rivals. And it definitely does look like this is when we should pit. So the Sargeant here is going to come out in first even after we pit. That's not a problem. And for Schumacher, 21 seconds. He's going to come out behind Yamamoto, but ahead of Verstappen. And honestly, I think he will have enough of a tire advantage that he might even catch Sainz. Well, maybe not Sainz, but at least Yamamoto. So as you can imagine, it's going to be an interesting finish here. I'm sorry that we focus so much on Miami, but this has been a very interesting and fun race to me. So, yeah, my bad for it. But we might skip some of the more mundane other races. Starting now is pitting. We are going to need a very, very clean stop from both of our boys. Stay in contention. And a 2.4, that's what we like to see. Yeah, and Shumi should come out here in 4th place. And let us see. There we go. He has actually perfectly timed it here onto the wet again with a clean stop. And we saw our motor there flying past. 3 laps, 2 seconds. No way we're catching. Sainz here. But catching Yamamoto should be relatively easy. And if we had a little bit more of a dry spell here, we could actually have seen some punctures from both sides of Yamamoto. Yeah, I'm curious here. What is Schumacher going to do in terms of lap times? Because he should, just purely based on tire, be quite a lot quicker. Take a look at Sargent's lap times at the end of this. For now, Schumacher, we're going to give you deploy. And make me proud, my boy. There we are, Schumacher on the podium. That's what we love to see. Now, we basically are going to start 2 laps to go here. We are 3 seconds almost quicker. 2.5-ish seconds quicker than Sainz. If we had more battery, we might have been able to make something happen here. We're going to push battery on the last lap, I think. But we got close. Like, we got actually closer to catching Sainz, too. For that last podium slot. But getting ourselves a 1-2. I say this is an honorable effort, all things considered. And again, if I'd managed the battery a little bit better, Schumacher would actually have had a chance there. But Sargeant, back-to-back wins here at Miami. Sainz is going to take 2nd place. And Schumi here is going to get himself a podium slot. So, good race weekend. I think we closed down on Red Bull ever so slightly. That's good. Both McLaren's having a bad weekend. Hamilton having a bad weekend. Unfortunately, Gasly and Tsunoda couldn't do the same thing they did in the sprint. And that is a little bit sad, but we'll still take this with us. So Sargeant wins. He's now just 13 points behind Sainz. 10 points gained. Schumacher here gets himself a little bit up the order. And in the Constructors now, we've closed the gap by 11 points. So, not all bad, but we definitely do need a little bit of better performance out of Schumacher. And hopefully the new car parts, that new front wing, and also new rear wing that we're going to make with CFD, it's going to make that a little bit more likely. But yeah, we are going to have to wait here. We have Imola in 11 days. We are not actually getting any of our components before then. So we're just going to have to sit tight here and get through Imola. Hopefully it's going to be less intense than this race weekend. Let's see what Italy has to offer. In Imola here, we continue the trend. Sargeant ends up second, just a tenth or so away from Sainz. And Schumacher is in 11th. He got knocked out by 1,000 of a second. Look at this, 79 to 78. You can't make this up. Schumacher's having a bad time, but at this point, the game is also making that bad time even worse. It's kind of insane in that regard. But yeah, let's see what we can do here. Emilia Romagna is coming up now. Imola. And, sorry, Emilia Romagna, not Imola. I keep on confusing the Italian races. I'm not even kidding. But the question here is, what do we do? I'm tempted to do what we usually do, or at least a variant of it. But as you can see, even if we do a light into a hard, it's not really going to be quicker than just doing a standard one-stopper around here. It's just very, very powerful. We could run light and try and build a little bit of an advantage. It's actually quicker than running standard. It's probably just what we're going to have to do. I'm not going to lie. This is a race where you can't really do much with the strategy unless there is an incident that changes things around. And even then, if we want to try and do something a little bit different, we'd need either 2 hards or 2 mediums, which, when you simulate practice, is usually not something that happens to you. So I kind of put myself here, but it is... I'm going to be honest with you guys, I simulate practice in order to try and get videos out in quicker fashion. Because if I don't, I would probably spend a lot of time there. But yeah, I think we don't really have a choice here. We're just going to try and manage the one-stopper, and then maybe change up our strategy if there's an incident. And of course, if we are running under cold tires here, we will tune them up to, well, standard to ensure that they're not cold. Both starting out with very high confidence here, which is going to help out a little bit, but it's still going to be a tough race. Let's see if we can get Schumacher up in a little bit of a high position. And currently, it looks like we are going to have basically a title fight here for Sargeant this season, and hopefully we can turn that into something good. Let's jump into Emilia Romagna here, see what is going on. The pit sequence has begun here. We have Sainz, Leclerc, show a lot of cars are already pitting, and the Sainz is going to probably go for the one-stopper. We still have a lot of tire left over compared to our rivals around us. Tsunoda is actually been running the lead the entire time. But we're also seeing an issue here that we are running slightly undercooled. About 90 degrees here is when the tires are in the operable window. Our rear tires are, our front tires are not. And I think we are going to just stay out a little bit longer here. Basically because what I am seeing, as I mentioned here, is that the operable window of these tires isn't... It's going to be hard to get the hards into a window that we can actually work with, but it is what it is. I think we're going to try and run light, and if we see that it's just not working, we're just going to have to pit and get off them. But right now, if we look at the time considerations, if we were to pit on this lap, Sargeant would come out around Sainz, and that would be huge. So we're actually going to just get Sargeant in on this lap, and then we're going to get Mick in on the following lap. He's actually done fairly well so far. He is going to come out pretty far down the order, back into 10th or so. But that shouldn't really be a huge issue here. We'll have a very minor tire advantage going into the rest of this race. And again, hopefully we can run light. That is what I'm hoping for. Clean stop here, a little bit slower than our last race's pit stops. Are we coming out ahead of Sainz? Nope, he's just flying down the line there. For Sargeant, I think getting a podium in this race would be very much an acceptable result. And for Mick, trying to get him into top 5, top 6 would honestly be pretty good, I'd say. But now that we're going to basically, again, try and manage these hards as much as possible to have an advantage towards the end, it's either that or that we go here now and basically full send these hards, and then we add a soft towards the end. It's basically... Those are basically our 2 options, and yeah, it's about a 4-second difference. The thing with this strategy, though, is that it would guarantee that we are getting the most out of the hards. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to do that extra stop. So we're going to go ahead here, we're going to go full attack with Sargeant. Sargeant has basically gaps here that makes this potentially possible. But we'll have to see. We can also run that off probably aggressive towards the end. That's probably going to help out. And that's kind of what we are banking on with this strategic change, if you will. For Schumacher, he is going to have a little bit of a harder time getting overtakes done, of course. But he too comes out in a pretty decent state, honestly. So we're going to try and go aggressive here. We're going to try and make something happen. Let's see how things look once we get to this off tire. We are getting close to the end there, and as it turns out, Tsunoda is just a beast that can't be contended with. We have pushed our hards, he has not, and we're still 5 seconds behind. Now, once we do pit it, we're potentially going to end up in trouble with Verstappen, Leclerc, Ocon for Sargeant. And the question is going to be if we can actually close down this gap over the next 15 laps. If we are 2 seconds a lap quicker, we're probably going to be more than that compared to some of the other cars. That might be possible. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to get Sargeant in. We've done a bit of a gamble. We're going to have to see if this gamble pays off or if it's going to be, you know, a sad time. And honestly, I would not be surprised if this ends up being a bit of a sad time. But it's one of those gambles. Makes the game more fun. It isn't necessarily the best strategy out there. But we haven't really had any problems overtaking, so we should be okay. Should being the operable word here. So Sargeant comes out in 8th behind Leclerc and Verstappen. He even gets overtaken here a little bit by Ocon. Are we going to get that place back? Because if we get overtaken here by these guys, then we are going to have a little bit more overtaking to do than I'm actually comfortable with. So luckily enough, we managed to stay ahead. And for Schumacher here now, he's going to have a little bit more of a job ahead of him if we want to make it up to 5th. Probably not happening. We might catch Verstappen here because he has damage, but that remains to be seen. Sargeant here with a pretty tough job as we now have a yellow flag as Leclerc and Verstappen has crashed. That's unexpected.
And the impact on the car, it's quite clear. And unfortunately,
The Ferrari assassin strikes again. But yeah, Leclerc actually survived and he's in the pits. Same as Verstappen. That's not usually something you see from a crash like that. There's usually one guy out. So yeah, Schumacher needs to get by Piastri as quickly as possible. Then we can start hunting some more positions. But that is a couple positions for free here. Gives Sargeant a lot of free air. And we now have 10 laps to try and close down to the cars ahead. Let's see what we can do. As we get close to the end here, with just 5 laps to go, we are once again seeing that Tsunoda is just untouchable. Another yellow flag. Another crash. And no idea who this is involving. Let's take a quick look. It's Hamilton and the Aston. For bad day for the Ferraris. I've been hit. Yes, you have been. So pretty bad day for the Ferraris. One crashes on his own, the other one gets taken out. And for Sargeant, as I mentioned, potential for getting 2nd place, which would be huge. It would be kind of mean to steal it from Albon, but we do what we have to do, I'm gonna be honest. There isn't really much to do until we get to the back of him, and right now we are moving at a pace that I find to be acceptable. But we can, of course, go full attack now, go balanced on fuel. And while it is very unlikely that Schumi here is going to catch up to the cars ahead, we can at least try. And also, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and deploy for this overtake. And the reason for that is very, very simple. I want to protect Albon here. If I can protect Albon, that would be huge. And that is kind of what I'm trying to do. And we actually get the overtake on Sainz and Albon on the same straight. That's a little bit insane, but we'll take that. 2nd place now in hand. Schumacher trying to hunt down the opposition. 3 laps to go. It's going to get closer-ish, but not close enough. And Albon should be safely in 3rd. I'll take this result. It's actually a good weekend for us, all things considered. Bit of a shame for Schumacher. Maybe if I pitted him a little bit early, he would have had a better shot. But even then, it is a good result. Is Yamamoto here going to get signs?
Tsunoda, Yuki Tsunoda, over the line and heading right.
That's the only thing that would make this weekend better, but doesn't look like it, unfortunately.
Checkered flag.
Second place there for Sargeant. We end up with 7 for Schumacher. He's made it 4 places.
Checkered flag.
Gamble kind of paid off here. I'm still amazed at Tsunoda's pace. He's kind of scary. So we'll just have to deal with that as best we can in the following races. But we're going to end it here. It's just how things are going to have to be. I had a little bit too much of a focus on Miami, as you probably realized. And yeah, that kind of just made it 2 races a day. Now, on a positive side, we have Anna just 6 points behind Sainz. Schumacher moves up another place. And we actually do close down the gap to Red Bull quite a bit. But yeah, we are going to end it here today. I am going to try and get more daily videos going. It's been a period where I've been busy, and every time that I've thought that I can sit down and just, you know, play, record, something has happened or come up that has basically forced me to deal with it. Used a lot of my time. And also, I've just been genuinely tired from working. We've been lacking people, which is a problem that has been going on this entire winter and fall, which sucks. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll be back this weekend with some more videos. Bye bye.